All right, welcome to the RMR Training Podcast. My name is Rich Ryan. I am recording on Sunday evening in Hamburg, Germany. We had a full weekend of HYROX stuff going on. Since this is a solo episode, again, back-to-back solos, just talking about me. That's what we're doing. I hope you enjoy. We are going to be talking about the weekend that was in Hamburg, Germany. There was the first major of the season. Primarily, I'm going to be talking about the singles race. Some of the things that we're going to be going over are I'm going to grade myself. I spent a long time reflecting on the race itself, where I finished sixth, which is just fine. The goal was top three, but we end up with six, not from a lack of trying that we'll get into in a bit. So different tactics in terms of the race, tactics in terms of training. We are going to talk about you're just going to listen. I'm just going to talk. Mentally, my mental approach. I'm going to grade that, and my emotional state during and before, during, after the race event. So first, just want to give a shout out to the RMR Training app and community. We had people all across the world racing this weekend in Toronto and Germany. I was fortunate enough to meet some of the athletes out here, and the athletes who they were able to kind of connect with each other and give each other some support during the event, which is just great, right? That's the whole point. Having the community and all the programs that we do have, the goal is to get better at HYROX, right? But if we can create connections with each other, with like-minded people who have like the similar interest and a similar drive, that's ultimately the goal, right? That's the stuff that you can't replace, you can't find anywhere else. And that type of support is ultimately a performance enhancer. I say that, it sounds corny, I know, but it is. I think that is true. So shouts to the community members who are out here racing across the world. Shout outs to anybody who's racing across the world. There's this thing's really popping off. I don't have to be the one talking to break that news, but this thing is popping off, and anybody out there doing this thing, it's very hard, right? This race is hard. Finishing is an accomplishment, and you should feel proud of yourself for even thinking about doing one of these events, and especially if you're training for it, finishing it, you should hold your head high because this race is hard, man. This thing is hard, and ultimately it is super fun. So just shouts to the RMR training community and the community at large. I am recording in my hotel room. It's the first time I've ever really done a setup like this. So we have some audio, video. I don't know if this video is going to last because this is the first time I've done this. So, battery life, memory, I think about that stuff very little. So it might not work video-wise. But if it does, the setup doesn't look too bad. I'm not too disappointed about this if you are on YouTube or Spotify video. Okay, so into this race. Last episode, I talked a lot about my training leading up into it. So if you're interested in the nuts and bolts of that, then go ahead and give that a listen to. In this, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that I felt were extremely useful and areas that I kind of missed on, right? And then talking about race tactics itself, right? So let's start there with the race tactics. So I mentioned I finished in sixth place, and to me, the longer that I am sitting with it, like the more pleased I am with it, because I came over here to qualify for Worlds. I put a lot of stake in this race in particular because of the life changes with my wife, who's expecting to give birth in just a few months now in December. So after that, it's going to be hard. It's going to be different, right? It's not going to be impossible, but it's going to be harder, right? So this was a real opportunity to just like take a load off, achieve a goal of qualifying for Worlds for the fourth time. And I really want to accomplish that goal. I still have juice left, and I want to get out there and compete with the best, right? And I feel like these type of goals of having something that's like big like this helps me push towards something, and it helps me feel good about all the other things that I'm doing, whether it's around creating this content or building out different programs and the community type of thing, and just like the business as a whole. Like having big goals just gives me confidence across the board. So having that goal is important, right? And that was something that coming here, and I generally steer athletes or steer myself away from outcome-based goals, because there's only so much you can control, right? And that's something I have been saying a little bit. It's like, yeah, I got sixth, but like I can only control so much, right? Like, Alex Ronkovich ran the fastest time I ever run. Dylan Scott was incredible. Hidi Wurzma was just like, he's just this up and comer who's just really, really good. And these guys, like, you can't control how they do in the sled push or how fast they run, right? And like, all you can really control is your own effort, right? So when it comes to goals, outcome goals for me have been something that has probably created more negative headspace than positive goal achievement. And before that, but in this case, right, sometimes there does need to be an outcome, right? And for me, this isn't like I'm not super disappointed in the outcome that I got because of my effort, but just that it sucks now that things are just like going to be different and harder. And again, not impossible, but harder. So it would have just been better for my life if I would have qualified. And that's where the disappointment comes in, right? And it's not necessarily because of the effort, which I will get into. But just the not qualifying it's just hard. It's just a bummer. Like, it's just gonna, like, it's stressful. Like, it's gonna be more stressful for my life for a longer period of time, which, I'd rather not have that kind of stress. But I've dealt with it before, and we will continue to deal with it. So let's get into the race itself. So in the past, this is the first race of the season, which, again, less than ideal. The way that this is all set up, it's like wanting to have the major be like kind of the first race of the year is hard, because training kind of changes the way that the training changes who we are as athletes, right? And as we change as athletes, we need to adjust how we are approaching the race so that we can fit our new athletic self with a strategy that will serve that person. Like, if you are faster now, if you are stronger now, running the race the same kind of way that you have, yeah, you'll get more predictable results potentially, but you might not get exponentially better results if like you're sticking to something that is like very much the same way that you've done it. So as you train and get better, there's going to be things you're going to need to do on the race course, tactics wise, that can give you really big results, but it's also kind of stepping into the unknown. And then there's like this risk that must be taken so that you can make greater gains on the course. And when you change your approach, again, you can just take it as information. It's like, okay, that worked, or that didn't work. Why didn't that work? Was it a tactics thing? Was it a training thing? And then you can go back to the drawing board and you can apply what you've learned based off of the new things that you've tried to your training and to your next race. So, but when an important race is up front, it's like, it's a bit of a risk. But for me, in last year, what worked really well, race tactics wise, was to be very, very measured through the first run, the run into sled push, the run after sled push. The ski erg was very measured, conservative. And then the sled push and the sled pull, I would go really hard. And I would just kind of make up all that time on the sled push and sled pull, and then come out. And because of the conservative nature of the first several runs and the ski erg, I would feel all right? And I would make up the room, and then I could start, and then I had like energy and juice to go into burpee broad jumps and hit that well. And then I'm in this, and then I'm like settled, and I can kind of ride that line through the end. It became clear, I was like, okay, that strategy isn't going to work at the highest level, because like people will just get away from you, and for me, I'm not going to be able to take back all of that time that I'm giving up front. So I was like, I need to be a little bit more steady across the board. So I wanted all of the runs to be like pretty close to the same. And I was feeling and like, so that meant being a little bit more aggressive on the runs early, a little bit more aggressive on the ski erg, but not like crazy, right? At World Championships last year, I tried to run from the gun with the front pack just to not let that separation happen. And then I fell back into the plan. So I adjusted the plan a little bit. I ran hard up front and then started to be conservative on ski, conservative on run, hammer the sleds. And that was just like too much undulation that there wasn't like any type of rhythm. And I feel like if there is a rhythm that can be established, it's helpful for me. I like the rhythm of the race, even if it's like a high output. If I can just put myself in this high output for a sustained amount of time and just have it be like steady, I can just like hang there. So that was the goal, and I achieved that. I was very steady in my runs. I had really good runs after sled push, after sled pull, after burpees. Runs that weren't that much different from like they were just consistent across the board. And usually they do go up and down. Like I'll hammer the push, and then I need to really kind of pull it down. So like the consistency of the pacing is all out of whack. So that was a goal that I had here. And basically I believe that my fitness is high enough that if I was able to do that, I would just be in a good position. And I train that way where I can still push and pull the sled hard and come out the other side and run well. So I gave up a little bit of time on the sled push and pull, but not a lot. My sled push was 218 at Worlds. It was like too flat, 159 actually. And then my pull was 307 at Worlds. I think it was slower than that. I think at Worlds it was 312. So my pull was actually faster, and my push was just a touch slower. And during the race, I was making up ground. So I came into the sled push. I came into ski or like in 7th, came out in like 10th because it's still not great at the ski erg. And then I left I came into the push again. I think in like 8th because I gained some ground because of the steady running, and then came out of the push in 5th, and then came out of the pull in 3rd. So I ended up in the same place that I did at Worlds because I came out of the sled pull in 3rd in Worlds. But my effort and like the amount of effort that I put into that sled pull after an enormous push was overwhelming. Like the fatigue was overwhelming, and it hurt the duration of the race. But here I was all right. I was like, hey, we're coming. We're doing okay. Coming in the burpees, a tactic that I wanted to try to change was making this, in retrospect, was also a mistake. This is a point off. I wanted to make it clear to the judges that I was abiding by the standard. I was basically banking on like everybody else doing it the way that we've done it in the past and just like getting banged with penalties. And I was the only one who had that approach. And when doing that, like I basically put my hands on the ground before my feet move. And I do it really close to my feet just to make it crystal clear that I'm hitting this standard. And that's just slower as opposed to just like flopping yourself down. And like the problem is like when your feet move backwards before your hands hit the ground, it looks like your hands are moving forward because of the backward motion of your feet. And it's really, really difficult for a judge to see. There's no visual anchor for your judge to be like, there's the foot, there's the hand. So they're like, I don't know if that was 30 centimeters. And if it's like on the nose, 30 centimeters, it probably looks like it's a little bit longer than 30 centimeters because of the dynamic nature of it. And like, it does look like there's forward motion because there is a little bit because you're moving forward 30 centimeters, 1 foot. But that's where I've gotten in trouble in the past. Like I ride that line. I think I do it within the bounds of the standards. But if the judge thinks otherwise, it's his word, their word versus mine. And if they decide that it's not up to standard, like I don't have a say. So I was like, I'm going to just like hit this as close to possible. And that was slow. And so I gave back a little bit of room. They also are kind of cracking down a little bit on your foot stagger. So there was a point in the rate, like the judge mentioned something to me about my feet being staggered, and this has always been something they don't want there to be forward progress with with your feet, right? Like if you were staggering forward, there's potential for your feet to move past your hands. It's not a guarantee that you are moving past your hands, right? Like if the first foot that you step up is like 6 inches from the palm of your hand or wherever you have for that space, and then your second foot comes up and it's 3 inches in front of the other foot, you're still 3 inches of space behind where your hands were, and so you're not making forward progress, right? But they just don't want to see that. Like it's really hard to tell, and then the visual anchor is gone from the hands and the feet, and then it's a whole judging nightmare. Fine, I think that is fine to not have to step in front, but like. So to mitigate that, I kind of stagger backwards to make sure my foot doesn't go forward, because it's still hard to make sure that you're not doing that. But now the rule reads parallel, which just like isn't possible. It's like just not that possible to do. So I was like having my foot, my trail foot was a little bit behind my front foot, and the judge was like, clean that up. I was like, oh my God. So like it's always going to be something with burpees, always. And I will mention it for the rest of time. But that was slow. So I would not recommend doing it that way unless the judge is like so dead set on making you work as hard as possible for it. I would not recommend doing burpees this way. Not one bit. But then coming out, run, stay steady. And that is something that, and like this is something in this race, I was feeling as though I was feeling a bit recovered while being able to run at this faster pace because of the training piece. A lot of the training aspects that I talk about on here all the time, and then I talked about a lot last week, just like spending a lot more time running at a higher output, like making sure I'm running at threshold even under like incredible fatigue, was really helpful in this race spot, because I was like a little bit slower than threshold and it felt like I was recovering and I was still running fast. So that was like something I had not really experienced, and I experienced that after sled pull. I was like, oh wow, like I'm actually back. And it happened a couple of times. So I was able to move myself back into third on the runs, and on the run into the row. I hit a gel right then, which I thought was fine. And then, from there, like race tactic wise, everything else was executed pretty well. I did want to put on my gloves for farmers because the chalk situation's not ideal in the farmer's carry scenario. They give those rosin bags without any chalk at the bottom of the bucket. So I was like, I'm not going to worry about this. I'm going to wear gloves. And it was okay. Like wearing like the tacky gloves that I wear on the farmers isn't like awesome. So I did have to drop it once. But I don't think I would change that. I think like at Worlds, we didn't have the chalk and I dropped it like 4 times. So once is better than 4 times. So, I mean, ideally they would just give us like good chalk and we wouldn't have to deal with that at all. And I think it would be fine. But hey, like if that's part of the race now, that's part of the race now, right? And that has to be accounted for. And then, there wasn't really anything else, tactics wise that I would change. Like I thought I was aggressive. I thought I was, I trusted myself. I stuck to the plan. I raced people. When there was people in front of me, I would go after them. I would get in front of them. I was running well. So in terms of tactics, 9 out of 10. I would change that burpee thing. The burpee thing, bad idea. Bad job by me on the burpee thing. But overall, really, really solid on the race tactics. So I'm very happy with that. I hope that's helpful. I'm not sure if that's helpful for you. But I'm going to keep talking, because I don't mind the setup. So it doesn't look too bad. Then I talked about my training tactics a little bit. I'm just going to talk about the negatives here. A lot of the things that I talked about last week remain true. I think the velocity training was very helpful. I think the spending time, of course, accumulating time in zone 4, going a little bit harder than HYROX race pace in training, and just kind of building tolerance, I think is also very helpful, as long as you can do it in a way that you can still sustain, right? Like, so when I'm saying this, right, like I basically am trying to run like at my threshold, even during like while under fatigue, with the caveat that there's going to be a little bit of break in there. But the break, where I've gotten in trouble in the past with this idea, right, is like, yes, run faster, run at threshold, build that tolerance for your run specifically. And a lot of times this doesn't need to be done with rest because it's fast. So having mixed modality work and fast threshold running in one like block of time is kind of what I'm talking about. So still accumulating like 10 to 15 to 20 minutes of thresholdy work with faster running intermittently dosed in there is going to be it for me is what I'm talking about. And I think that worked. And I'm going to continue to do that is be like, here's my threshold pace. Here's what I can run at threshold. Like, let's keep doing it. And like, I think that actually helped me get like faster as well. And I did a little bit more threshold running outside, which is extremely helpful when I can do it. I was like kind of primarily on the treadmill, and the winter's going to present some issues for sure. But like I'm gonna do what I can to get outside as much as I can when it comes to running, because I think that's very helpful biomechanic wise. So that's great. I think, being broader base into specific, that's just like, training 101, something you should do. What else? Yes, I mentioned running economy, biomechanics, super helpful. Like my run form is actually a little bit different now, and I'm running faster because of it. So just little tweaks here or there, biomechanic wise will can yield big results. So that is something I would highly recommend. Some things that I didn't do. I did mention this last episode as well, is that I kind of did velocity-based training only, and for like a long block, where I should have been putting in some heavy loads as well. My farmer's carry was just not good, and my lunges just weren't good. And I think that there's some sort of skeletal muscular issue going on where I'm just like not that strong in like broadly. I'm pretty strong, but I'm not that strong. But like there was something where it's like, hey, pick this up, put this on your back, and that's what's causing me issues speed wise. It's just not very fast. Like the farmers, I put it down once, but that like I was just getting dropped because I just couldn't go fast with it because I think the weight was kind of beating me. So just wasn't putting in enough heavy loads on my strength work. I have a hard time putting the station. It's just hard to work the specific fatigue that you'll feel at the back stations, right? Like, because you need to work for like 45, 50 minutes to get there. And to me, it's not incredibly intuitive to just like be like, all right, just going to do 100 lunges to start a workout. Like, it's just different. It just doesn't feel the same. But maybe I should have done that. And also trying to figure out how to create that type of muscle damage coming into the back. And that could have been because of the faster pace. Of course, right? Like the faster you run, the more muscle damage that you're going to create. So that could be also something that I need to work on when it comes to shoring up those back couple of stations. Yeah, and just like working full stations. A lot of times when I do lunge work, when I do wall balls, when I do farmers, I'll do it in like pieces where it's like I'll do like 25 to 50 reps at a time, usually not 50, closer to 25, just for the sake of sustainability, right? Like when you put these big blasts of work, and maybe there just needs to be more muscular endurance work in that just so I can do it. But there's like this balance of recoverability for me, especially in the back few stations that I need to figure out, right? There needs to be some sort of resilience built up. I think there's some sort of strength, just like overcoming loads, like heavier loads on that are like pushing me down. I have not been able to do a very good job on it's different from wall balls because wall balls are like more dynamic. So to me, like I can use biomechanical advantages and to like help with the actual load itself, and it's not heavy. It's not that heavy. I think that's more the case of it. And like there's again, it's dynamic. You come fast out of the bottom. There's like there's like an explosive element through the hips, where lunges and farmers are not that much. So when it's just like brute strength, I think I'm a little bit behind some others. So I need to share that up, right? Like there is 15 seconds like it was actually like 15 seconds across the board, across like everybody who did the race. So there's 15 seconds there, and then there was like 15 seconds on lunges too. So right there, like that's the world spot, right? Like those two pieces are then putting me right in that fight for the world spot, which I was in up until that point, but like just having a little bit of like the margins are too tight, right? Like I can't be like, oh, I'll just make it up at wall balls. I'll just make it up on the runs. Like it's not gonna happen. Like you need to make up 30 seconds, it needs to happen across the entire race, not like at the last like chunk. So that's just something that else needs to be shored up. So if I can edit the last episode of what's working, what's not, I would be like, hey, what's not working is not doing heavy stuff. For me. That's for me. So, cool. Let's talk about the mental side of this. This is something I put an incredible emphasis on. It's an area that I will kind of sidestep sometimes and just try to over fitness things. And that's not the best way to get peak performance, right? So I was conscious of that. I came into training with the idea of like, let's like really swing hard, make a couple pieces that are going to be mentally super stressful that you just need to like really go to the dark place and then figure out how to manage it and come out the other side and keep fighting, right? So I did that a lot in training, and I thought that I was in a really good spot for that. And for the most part, I did a really good job, I think. Like I remember I was on the row and I was running through these pieces, like thinking about my wife, thinking about Rylan Shadag. I was thinking about the RMR community. I was just like doing all of these things that were like really feeding me positive energy and just like things that can combat this incredible fatigue. And then like the last run, I kind of let myself off the hook, and like there was like 2 spots during wall balls where I did the same thing, and the whole race feels like a mental failure because I didn't hang it the entire time. I just didn't hang in there. So I like gave myself a little bit of wiggle room to let that just like voice slide in there, be like, take a little bit of a break. And on the last run, I was like, I need to do these wall balls unbroken, which was true. But because I started to think that, I was like, then I need to go slower here. And if I would have just like gone faster, I don't think I would have done the wall balls that much worse, and I would have probably picked up at least 2 spots. If I would have just like kept my normal pace. It was the only time of the race where I was like bracing myself, like trying to like overly recover and I didn't like trust myself, which is just like such a bummer. Like I'm really bummed about that. And yeah, there was like, I think I broke maybe 3 times, and one time I broke in the last 10 in the wall balls, and that is just like dumb. Like that's just like lame, right? I did feel like I was at the edge of failure. I was like going really slow, and I thought I was gonna miss a couple of them, but I just like let it win a little bit, right? And like all this work that I did now feels like trash. Even if I held it together though, like mentally, like I'm still not qualifying for Worlds. I think I could finish 4th instead of 6th because it was that close. Like I think it was like 10, 15 seconds between 4th and 6th, and then another like 10 or 15 to 3rd. So I feel like I just let myself off the hook just a bit, and it kind of dampens all the positives in it, right? So I'm going ahead and giving myself a grade. What I said, I was 9 out of 10 for race tactics, 8 out of 10 in training tactics, and when I'm grading myself, it's a 5, even though it's like 1 or 2 mistakes, and the whole rest of the piece was like really good. I was even thinking about it at the ski. And one thing I was telling myself, like, hey, there's no escape, right? Like when you're in this, and things I used to kind of try to aim for is like, okay, well, maybe when you get to the row, it'll be better, or in this next run, you kind of take a little bit off and try to get a little bit of a reprieve. Like, no, that's not how it works. There's no escape. You just have to sit in that discomfort and be prepared for that discomfort enough that you can keep going and be fit enough that, like, again, like you having all of these pieces, having the fitness that you can continue to be like, that I can get in this rhythm and can go, and that this won't be this mental like push and pull, right? It's just like you're here, there's no escape, right? I was thinking that earlier. I was like, the discomfort is good, right? And this discomfort is familiar. I know how to do this. I've been here a bunch, and I was doing it, and I was doing it. And then because like more of the skill strength side, like farmers was like fine. I was still kind of like, okay, let's go. We're all right. Let's get to lunges. Lunges just didn't go well. They haven't gone well for some time now. And I think that threw me for a loop a little bit, where it's like, okay, this didn't go the way that I wanted. And then that kind of like pulled me out of this like aggressive push type of mentality, which I think is really easy. It's really easy to have that happen, right? And I think when talking to athletes who I coach or whatever, if there's something something goes poorly early or in the middle or whatever, it's kind of like this like spiral. So I was fortunate that it happened there, but like it's still spiraled a little bit, right? I didn't give up, but I didn't like go all in on that spot, and it's just killing me that happened, right? Where everything else is just like really, really positive. Even sixth place, like, is fine. It doesn't suck, but it's not like, it's like, but if I would have finished fourth, not qualified, I would be feeling a lot different. Not because of the fourth place, but because of the grit and the staying in it and just like hanging in there and just like doing it. It would prove that I could do it. And now it's like, dang, it was a wasted opportunity. That's what that is to me. It's like, man, I prepped for this and it was going really well. I was really sure that I was going to be able to do it all the way through. And these like little moments, in terms of like the amount of time that like passed for these moments to happen is probably like 3 seconds. I had like 3 seconds of mental weakness, and I'm just like kicking myself for it. Which sounds like I'm being overly hard on myself, but like those things, like that in training, I'll tell myself this as well. Like that is it's very simple to do. Like I would go into a training session and be like, my goal here is to sit here and suffer. And you know what? There is no skill involved in that. There is not a question of like, oh, I might not even be able to do that. Like sometimes like run 3-minute kilometers. Like I can't physically can't do it. Just like or whatever. That is more complex. There's a lot of things you need to fix. There's a lot of things that need to be adjusted. You need to build up this all of these pieces so that when you get to the race, you can do a certain thing, right? It's like push the sled in a minute 30. Physically can't. Couldn't do it if it was fresh. Couldn't do it if it was right in front of me and you told me to do it. Not going to happen. But to sit there and just experience discomfort and not slow down is very hard, but it requires no skill. It's very simple, right? So like this simple task of just like sitting in it and failing to do that just makes me so mad at myself. It just makes me so mad. And but like I said, I've done a good job for the most part. And it's not like, and I don't feel like, oh my God, I'm so far away. Like I wasn't like bargaining, because sometimes like there's been points in my career where it's just been like this piece that I can't really overcome, where it's like I just have not been mentally prepared enough to like sit and hang in it, and I just wanted it to be like a little easier than it can be. And of course, like you could go through and just avoid that space and get like mediocre results, right? Or you can get good results, right? You could probably get like sub-elite. You could probably get elite results. I'm saying you definitely can get elite results. by just like staying under it. But you never get everything you want out of yourself, or not. You might not want it. I don't know what you want. You won't get everything you possibly can get out of yourself unless you can do that simple thing of just sitting in that discomfort for the entire race, not once giving in. And I didn't do that. So like the 3 seconds, like that's what's killing me about this. It won't change the outcome. It probably wouldn't even change the outcome. It might have, but it like that to me is also something that I chase, right? Is just like the full package of the racing, of just like, it's like the Prefontaine thing, right? Like, I don't race to see who's the fastest. I race to see who has the most guts. Like, that's crazy. That's an insane thing to say, an insane reason to race, but it's so cool, right? It's just like, wow, like you just are gonna go there like that and just take everybody else there and see what happens. So yeah, it's something I aspire to, and it takes continuous work, and yeah, like the one break that I had in wall balls and the 400 meters that I didn't run as hard as I probably should have, will weigh on me until the next race. And it won't happen again. I don't think. I hope it does. I hope it will never happen again. But it probably will, and I will be back here chomping at the bit to run at my next race, because that's the best anecdote, right? Is like getting back into it, trying it again. Finally, I just want to touch on the emotional part really, really quickly, right? And this is much more abstract. This is like mentally is abstract too, right? Like I could have just not said that. I could have just like been like, yeah, you can like lie to yourself. I could have been like, no, I gave it everything I had. Right? And like, I'm like mostly happy with that effort. Like I put myself in it. That's risky to do. I did a plan that I've never done before. And just like hung with it, right? I fought it all for a long time. So I could have been like, yeah, I gave it up my all, but I didn't. I gave it like 99% of my all. And that 1%, man, I'm coming back. Don't worry, I'll be back. And then emotionally, yes, this is even more kind of abstract. Like, what are we talking about? How can you measure the emotional states of yourself as a racer? And this is something that I don't even think I would have talked about in the past, like 3 or 4 years, maybe the last year or two, something that I've really had to harness this a little bit more and like really be like, okay, this does matter. Because it is, and it probably is, I'm trying to think. I mean, you got to train. It's not more important than training. If you're like emotionally happy and you don't train and you go out for HYROX, it's not going to go that well. But it's like, it's kind of like even across all boards, right? Like if this is high, everything else will. This is the tide. This is the tide that raises all of the other ships of the race tactics, of the training tactics, of your mental strength, your emotional well-being. My emotional well-being, speak for myself on this, is what will, the ebb and flow of that, right? And this is something that I've just been like kicking butt with. I feel just like really good with where I am as a person. And that is, for me, something that takes work to recognize. That it's easy to just kind of gloss over, is to be like, we're fine. This is just how it is, right? We're doing the things that we always do. It's like, yeah, but like, how we doing? Like, how we doing right now? And we're doing good. We are doing good. So I'm very happy with that, right? And when things like this in the past where I wasn't doing so good would be like, the pressure would really hit me hard. The moment would feel bigger than it is. The the stress around the race, leading into the race, like my state of being just generally, in terms of like stress, it would be elevated. It would be worse, and then that would like have a negative effect on things like, yeah, like just general nervous system. Like I would just be wound too tight, and then that would manifest physically. And then I couldn't breathe as well. And then I couldn't move as well. And then so like it can trickle down like literally to the physical parts. Like, oh, you are too stressed, so now you're running poorly. Like it's a leap, and like, you could probably do mobility and whatever and help calm yourself down. You might not be in that much better of an emotional state, but you can still kind of manage. But like, it is tied together. And this was the best I've done with this, right? Like I'm over here. I'd rather not be. I'd rather be home with my wife. And this trip was long. I would have rather it been like a third of the amount of time. But I was still in a really good spot, traveling and doing, understanding like how to travel well, having that system kind of dialed in, and not being overly worried about that. Feeling like I am working towards something, feeling like I'm achieving things along the way, making progress across the board, not just as a physical athlete, but just as like a person. This is where I'm at. This is where I'm at my best right now. This is probably the best I've ever been. So that I gave myself a 10 out of freaking 10. I am an emotional A+ right now. Which is great, right? Like, I got 6 in this race. That sucks. But everything else is great. So that is just something, and I don't really even know where, like this is something that I can't really tell you what to do. Like, if you want to know how to get faster, your threshold, I can help you with that. But like emotionally, it is something I'm not quite sure of how to harness, of how to recognize, of how to utilize it, and if it even matters to anybody else that much. But I did just want to mention it because it is something that went into my process of trying to figure out how I'm doing, and what to do next. Because that's a big part of this as well. Like I said, after the race, I went to a coffee shop and just hung out like for 2 hours and just like wrote things down in this journal, right? And that gives me the space to really understand what's going on. I'm not saying you have to do that. You can, and it's great. And it doesn't just have to be about, and this whole thing about HYROX, and then it helps kind of like plan out the next thing. And it's like this whole process, and it's really great. And it makes me excited to keep going. And that's where this progress happens. It's not like the one thing you do in training. It's not like the one race tactic. It's not just being completely emotionally happy, mentally resilient for one time, right? It's like the tweaks here and there, and building and making and like continuing to progress forward piece by piece. Because you could do the same thing over and over, and you'll probably get like pretty good results. But to get like really good results over time, you need to slightly change things. You need to have new stimulus. You need to have new opportunities to grow. And that's what this really affords me to do. So I just wanted to share that with you. I don't know. I don't know if it's helpful. I'm just sitting here talking in a hotel room. The birds are on. It's like 9 o'clock in Germany, and the Eagles are playing. I'm missing it. So, all right. We're going to wrap this thing up. I appreciate you all so much. Everyone who came up here in Germany said that they listened to the podcast. It's super sweet. We really appreciate you spending this time with us. We'll be back to something a little bit more regular with Ryan and Meg. We need to get Ryan's recap. He raced in Boston, did a great job. Really happy for him. Meg raced as well. She also crushed. Like things are looking up for the full RMR squad, for the squad as a whole, for the first time in a long time. So like everybody is like we're coming around. We're coming. So it's really great. Oh, I also ran doubles. I ran doubles with my guy Dylan Scott. Thank you to him for spending that 48 and 51, seconds, 48 minutes and 51 seconds with me. That was really fun. Again, that opportunity to get back out, and I was like, there was like no mental give, and like doubles is hard, man. The running is hard, but it was just like, no, there was and having another opportunity, even though like physically I wasn't feeling as good, right? Like there was not as much pop. I just like, there was points where I don't think I've ever experienced this in HYROX where I wanted to run faster and I physically couldn't run faster because I just couldn't move faster. Usually I'm just like tired. I'm just like, ugh. But here I was like, let's go faster. And I was like, I think I'm bound by my speed right now, which is kind of crazy. So to me, like feeling that, it's like, oh wow, there's like another level here. Like I can get a little faster. So I love that. That was really fun to be able to throw down with Dylan. My guy Palaio is still my partner for doubles, but having multiple doubles times is helpful because you don't know what happens. You know what's going to happen, right? Like Palaio, he is currently working his way back from an injury. I could get injured. Dylan could get injured. We want to have different options, or just like decide that people that don't want to race, whatever. So again, thank you so much for hanging with me, hanging with us. Thank you for being part of the community. Check out the RMR Training app and community if you are looking for a little bit of extra guidance when it comes to your training progress, programs, and community. Coach we're all in there answering questions. It's like it's just peace of mind when it comes to the information that you're getting. If you think it. Maybe not. Maybe this is all for nothing. Maybe we don't know what we're talking about. But I hope you think we do. I kind of think we do. I appreciate you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.